Okay, here we are again. Hopefully this is the last time, but I've already seen something that I'm probably going to have to fix, but I'm probably going to do it myself. We're going to start at the top back here behind at the engine. There is where the oil sending unit mounting thing screws into the block. It is wet. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. Probably not. But if you, right there where it screws in at that base, let me see if I can zoom it. It is wet right there. Now the first shop did the intake, put the intake manifold on, and they did it when they swapped the engine out and then had to put it on again. But it doesn't look like they've got any thread or thread tape on that mounting block. And I think that is going to be a problem. We're going to wipe it and spray it, get it dry. Get all of this as dry as we can. There's a little bit right there. That's a little bit damp. But this will be the first engine shop. Okay, we're going to go down below now. And I'll come back up and clean that up. Yes, I don't even know what half this stuff is. And down here, like I said, you're looking at the front of the van there. I have cleaned, and it was already, they had cleaned it. I've got it cleaned and dry. The oil pan, the scatter shield or dust cover, whatever you want to call it. It looks like it's a little wet, but it's not, it's dry. Transmission lines are dry. Everything's dry under here right now. Starter bolts dry. See how that exhaust looks? It's clean and dry. Looking at it from the back, it's clean and dry. So hopefully we finally got this leak squared away, except maybe for the intake and around that oil sending unit. And the first shop may have to go back and do that. And I hate throwing anybody under the bus. I mean, that first shop, they're nice people. I know they don't want this thing coming back time after time, so I'm sure they were trying to get it right. But I mean, after 4 times not being able to get an oil leak stopped, I've just pretty much lost all confidence in them. I thought it was a rear main seal from the very beginning, and that's what it's, part of it at least, is what's turned out to be. The second shop replaced the rear main seal this time, and so it's been driven, several hours, and it doesn't appear to be leaking anything down there. We'll find out. We're going to be driving it today, tomorrow, and see how it goes. But we got it back. I think the old van's looking good for what it's been through the years. It was a work van for 20 years. And it has hauled lumber, it's hauled quickcrete, concrete, and then too, I've always taken care of it, but I've never been mild or gentle with it. It's always been a work vehicle. It's been in some rough places. So anyway, we'll probably add to this as we go down the road. Yeah, we've still got some body work to do too. I'm going to sand that down, get some primer on it. I don't know anything about body work, but I've got to figure out a little bit something extra on this. We hadn't got a door for it, so I can make it look a little bit better. I'm not any good with body work. The hood has turned out good, but I'm going to put some rubbing compound or polishing compound on it and buff it. You can still see some of the crinkle, orange peel, whatever you want to call it. But overall, I'm tickled with the way the hood turned out. And the top up there, I've still got to work on the one spot on the top up there. But, some of the clear coat came off this fender here. I may have to sand that down and put another coat of clear on it. We'll see how that goes though. Let's button this thing back up and get it on the road and see what we can figure out today. Okay, yeah, so far, not even the new shop has gotten this thing back on correctly. This vent goes, everybody puts this vent, straps it down and then puts the vent on. It doesn't go that way. The strap holds this vent on as well. It goes on there like that. And now we put the strap on. This red dot goes out. Okay, let's turn it off and get this on. That looks a little bit high. What's going on with that? Okay, now that's how it's supposed to go on. And see, that goes up underneath there and hooks into that ductwork up there. Now the strap goes on. But the red dot is out. So let me get it positioned. Okay, see, that's how it goes on. That strap holds that ductwork in as well. Nobody yet has gotten that back on right. I don't understand why, but they haven't. Okay, now see, you've got these little straps on the outside, not the inside. If the red dot's inside, the straps will be backwards. So now all we have to do is grab that strap and hook these in on each side down here, and that ductwork will be held in. Like so. And you can see where it's strapped in, or it's hooked up there with the spring. And over here with the spring. And that comes right down the middle and holds that ductwork in and the engine cover on. And to finish it up, just get your 4 10mm bolts. Get them back in on secure. And remember to plug up your cigarette lighter accessory socket plug, or you won't have juice to these 2 sockets. Well, that'll wrap this up. We're going to button everything else up and get on the road. Well, here we are again. Okay, got that dust cover off. I don't see anything where it looks like it's running down. You reckon it may have just been some left over? I don't know. I said, I don't see any coming down off the pan on the flywheel. Now with the dust cover off, it looks like it may be running down around the starter. So that would be on this side over here, running down from up above the starter and running down. We're going to clean this up real good and put it back on. And then we're going to drive it and we're going to take it off and we're going to see where it looks like it's coming from, down from up top up here. Okay, we've gotten all the grease, oil, and everything off of this dust cover. I'm not going to call it a scatter shield, it may be, but anyway, we've gotten all the oil, all the grease off of it, even the caked on grease from years ago. It is clean as a whistle. That's a oil soaked Q-tip that I ran up in the dust cover hole, or scatter shield in the hole, and got all that oil off of it. No more than it's been driven. It was soaked, just soaked in there. So it had to be puddled up in there because it was a drip hanging down from the bottom. But now everything is dry. I've got everything wiped dry, but it did look like oil may have been coming down on this side over here, coming down around that starter. I'm going to look at up underneath it around that starter one more time before I button it up. And we're going to probably drive it, take it off again tomorrow afternoon or Friday, and see if there's oil on this, where it's coming from, and so give us an idea. If it is, maybe that was just residual oil that came down. I don't know, but you would think they cleaned it up real good. I just don't know. But anyway, we are going to find out. So let's put it back together. And it didn't want to come off. And you got to be real careful. This sheet metal will cut you in a flash. It's worse than a paper cut. I mean, it'll cut you deep, and you will need stitches unless you just super glue it back together. So be real careful if you're messing with these things. But it was hard getting off, coming out past the transmission lines and the exhaust manifold or exhaust pipes. It's going to be aggravating getting it back up there. Okay, it's looking up by that starter. That's wet. Look at there. Where is that? We're going to see if we can wipe that. Okay, you should be able to see that little drip of oil on that bolt. We're about to wipe it off, and it's wet around that pan gasket right there. It's also wet over here on the block above the starter. It's wet on the starter.
Hey Bob,
Yeah.
you eat those leftover meatloaves?
Yeah, that's fine.
I've got 20 minutes.
Do not know what's going on down here. I think this is the 10th of August, 2023. I think somebody in that gray car is already in the back seat or going to jail. And there's one has just left. One sheriff's car has just left. What is today? The 10th, Thursday. Yep, August 10th, 2023. I think the engine's still leaking. It was dry this morning, but when I pulled it in and let it sit in the shop, there was oil hanging off the dust cover again. And it had made 2 drips on the floor. I took the dust cover off, scatter shield, whatever you want to call it. I sprayed it, I got it very clean. It still had caked on grease and stuff. I don't know whether this, residual stuff that was still running down the motor, that I don't know. It looks to me like it's coming down from the top over the starter. I was going to put the dust cover back on, but it was very hard to get off without getting the oil filter off or either dropping the exhaust, and I didn't do that, but it finally came out, but I hadn't been able to wiggle it back up in there. I'm going to get an oil filter and at least change oil, take that oil filter off, add another quart of oil. Here comes another sheriff. Well, there's been something going on pretty good back there. And get that dust cover. I guess I'll get that dust cover back on. I may buy some dye and put in that oil myself, and that way you be able to see where that oil is coming down from, if it is still leaking. I'm not positive it's leaking yet, but I think it is. But tomorrow I'm thinking about putting a time-lapse camera on it. I just don't know what to do at this end, at this point, other than just tear into it myself. Just as bad as I hate it, just find out whatever it is myself. That'll make a good video. We'll turn this one off and we'll add it to that other video, and then start another one. I don't know where we're going to go, but I don't know where we're headed. We'll figure it out.